Great. I do believe we are live. So thanks everybody for joining another episode of the OpenJS Foundation's Cross-Project Council meeting. Let me quickly press pause. There we go. Yeah, thanks for joining. Today is the 1st of October. We drop the link to the recording into the thing, and we're good to go. So let's start off with any announcements. I will share, and maybe I'll share that we have the CPC voting member elections are open. So there are, this is issue 1370 in the CPC repo. We are looking to elect non-impact at-large voting members. There are two for that role. And then also 2 voting members to represent regular members. So essentially 4 positions open as voting members. If you look in the issue, you'll see information around who's eligible and things like that. And we encourage you to look at that. There's also the Impact Project voting member selection process. So this is the process where the impact projects choose their representatives internally to their projects. So that process should also be ongoing. I know Node.js already has an issue open related to that. And so, we hope to hear from the other projects, who will either continue representing them or if they have new folks or what have you. We go through that process. But let me actually open this issue so I get some of this stuff correct. So there is a form in the issue, and we want to complete submissions by October 11th. So that's a little less than 2 weeks. And then we will go through the process of voting. And again, some of the details are in the links in here as to who votes and who's eligible and things like that. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me or Ben or any of the other folks, or just simply ask in Slack and we'll chime in. Great. Did I catch everything on that? I think I did. Excellent. Any other announcements? No? Cool. We did have a board meeting last week. Right? I think it was last week. Yeah. I'm trying to remember if there's anything that came out of that we should share with the gang. Ben, can you think of anything? Were you there, Ben? Yeah, you were there, right?
Yeah, I was there. Yeah, nothing is jumping out at me.
Okay. Yeah, me neither. All right, great. Next on the list here is waiting on the board. So maybe that's oh, there's nothing in there. So great. So we'll skip right over that. Staff updates, anything on like legal info, staff updates, website updates? I can't think of anything that's been moved forward. Robin's on vacation right now as well, so we'll double back on this in a couple of weeks and see if there's any movement on any of those items. All right, so the first thing that we want to jump into, Ulysses shared an issue from and this isn't in the issue itself, but is in the agenda here from the sustainability collab space, issue number 12. Do you want to give us some context, Ulysses?
Oh yeah, that's good. Yeah. So first of all, if you are not already following up what's going on this new collab space, you should be part of it and try to join. Just 1 minute of promotion. We know that the time is not the best for everybody, so we will probably open a doodle asking for a better timing. The idea there is also to have as much more people as possible as well. And I will let the chat or Vlad to do the presentation, as they will do much better than me for sure.
I'm happy to introduce open source pledge if maybe not everyone's familiar with it. Maybe if I share my screen real quick, if that's okay.
Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
Let's see if that works. on Wayland. Is that working okay?
Yeah.
So just a quick intro, Open Source Pledge is an initiative started by Sentry and worked on by other maintainers like myself as well. And the idea is that, we're concerned about maintainers that are overworked and are not getting paid enough or at all for really important work that they do, that, this work ends up supporting a lot of companies. And what we're asking is basically for companies to pay directly to maintainers. None of the money goes through us. $2,000 per year per developer at the company. And we already have some awesome companies, having made the pledge and having paid the money to maintainers. Sentry's giving quite a lot, Antithesis is giving quite a lot. And basically, our ask is, we have this big marketing campaign launching on October 8th. And this includes we have some billboards in the San Francisco area, and we have NASDAQ helping us out with the big screen in Times Square. And the idea there is to promote members, to promote companies that are paying money directly to maintainers to help make this sort of open source ecosystem more sustainable. And our ask is whether the OpenJS Foundation would be willing on October 8th at 9 a.m. Eastern to publish a blog post just sort of congratulating us on the launch and supporting this. And the reasoning there is we think that this can make a big difference to how much money goes to maintainers in general and also to the OpenJS Foundation. So yeah, that was the ask.
Okay. Cool. Any comments or questions, folks?
Toby already knows it, but this is the answer to your talk in OS Summit in Vienna, Toby, about how we unlock that $1 billion for the open source ecosystem.
Well, you would be a long way there if IBM contributed, because we have 40,000 developers roughly, and that works out to be $80 million. So I'll see
Joe,
if
if you can pull this off before next Tuesday, I think we might be able to get your logo on the.
Yeah, I've got a checkbook around here somewhere.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Toby.
Yeah, no, first of all, I think it's great that I think any initiative that moves the needle on this issue is great. And so I think I'm very supportive of this initiative. And I'm very grateful for you all to be running with this and putting your own sources into it to actually make it happen. So I think that's great. I entirely support the foundation, being part of the launch. I do have one tiny question, which is, not necessary for this first thing, but maybe longer term. The amount that you're requesting to be part of the pledge is not the same depending on which country your engineers are based on. And well, 2K in the US and 2K in other countries are not worth the same thing, or don't represent the same chunk of a software engineer's salary. And so, well, as a question and a comment, both, have you thought about this? And as a comment, it would be great if you haven't. It would be great if you did in the future. And that's really just, I'm nitpicking because for me, the rest is great.
Yeah, so this is something that's come up. It's come up in the issues and we've discussed it. We recognize that this is important. I think basically the long and short of it is, for this launch, we've decided that it's going to be mostly US based, mostly US dollar based. So really, we haven't figured out what the best way is, basically, to take purchasing power parity into account. But that discussion is ongoing in the issues, and so we welcome everyone to take part in that.
Wonderful. Yeah, I think it's sorry, please.
Oh, I was just gonna say I did link it in the chat to our GitHub issue about that question, Toby.
Awesome, thanks. Yeah, I think it's a pretty much solved issue in terms of there are ways to do this that is sort of acceptable. And so I'm sure if you're into it, I'm sure it'll solve it. So thank you, it's great. And it absolutely doesn't make sense to tackle now, to be clear. I also
Yeah, I
Yeah.
made a joke at the beginning. I did a quick search as to how many developers IBM has, and they say that we tower over some of the other large companies. So we're maybe not the greatest example, but do you have different levels for companies that have large numbers of developers? Like, we obviously couldn't do 80 million, but I don't know how that would work.
Yeah. So we're using this metric Vlad talked about, which is dollars per developer. And the purpose of using that as kind of the benchmark for the pledge is to have a way to compare across companies of very different sizes. So Sentry has 136 developers or 135. We're actually giving a fair amount more than 2,000 per developer. We're the largest one that's committed today, but we've got some companies with 20 developers and smaller than that. $80 million, is that what it comes out to? What's IBM's revenue? That's the question, right? Like the point is for it to be proportional, and it's kind of, I don't know. I think it's way too early for us to kind of throw in the towel and say we're gonna bend on larger companies just to get folks in the door. We're launching here. We soft launched on August 28th. So it's been about a month. We've got 15 companies, maybe 16 on the website today. We've got 5 or 6, 7 more that we're trying to rush to get in before our launch on the 8th. So we feel pretty good about kind of the momentum that's building. Obviously, it's the smaller companies that are able to move faster, they're able to get on board. If we think about it just from the point of view of like, how long does it take to get IBM to spend $80 million on anything? It's like any large spend, any enterprise sales cycle is going to be 18 months, 24 months. So that's just the reality of kind of any large spend at a large organization. So we're quite confident in launching with this $2,000 benchmark. The goal is really to see how far we can go with establishing this as a new norm in the industry, recognizing there is a diffusion of innovations. There is, we're going to get more smaller companies at first, but we'll just see where it goes. My employer Sentry is the main driver behind this. Vlad's working independently with us. We've got, like I said, 15 other companies on board today, others coming along, as well. So, the hope would be that we kind of grow laterally and grow up kind of the food chain as well. When that first 500 developer company joins, that first 1,000 developer company joins, we're going to celebrate that, and that's going to unlock how many others. This is really about, there's 3 basic levers to fund open source. Commercialization, you start a business adjacent to it. Taxation, like Sovereign Tech Fund is doing, or social validation is what we think of. So this is really trying to pull hard on that social validation lever, trying to build a new norm in the industry. It's like, hey, this is just what you do. This is the new table stakes. That's not going to happen overnight. But the hope would be that 2 years, 3 years, 5 years from now, the decision kind of context looks much different, for an IBM or a Microsoft or an Amazon or a larger company. But it'll take time to get there.
So, did you have a question?
I mean, I'd have a comment, more than a question, really. I'm sorry, I'm the comment guy this evening, which is terrible. No, I think it's also worth noting that, like, the pledge considers donations also to foundations. And like a number of large organizations already give a large large amounts there. So there's clearly large organizations are already doing some of it, right? And this is just sort of like increasing what that should look like to make the whole ecosystem sustainable. And I like the approach. I think that it's fairly reasonable to say that everyone should be paying a fair chunk of the stack that they're using.
Yeah, we're trying to bring some transparency, with So the two parts are, like Vlad said, go pay maintainers, but then also publish a blog post about it, publish an annual report, as we're calling it, on your own company blog with your voice and your branding that says, hey, we support open source. We're lending ourselves, our brand to this open source pledge. We're participating in this. And then we're asking for some level of transparency in there. So, to your point, Toby, here's the foundations that we're a member of. Here's, the level we're at. Here's how much money we're paying to these foundations. Here's how much money we're paying through Open Collective, through GitHub sponsors, and, really trying to bring that transparency so folks can benchmark against their peers and see, I'm not going to be a sucker if I go out and participate in this because here's what other folks are doing. And then also giving the community a chance to kind of inspect a little bit and see, okay, this company says they're doing this, what are they doing? And click through and get the transparency and the visibility on that. Another aspect to this is very much focused on cash payments to maintainers and, including in that bucket, foundations, projects, maintainers. There's other ways that companies do contribute to open source. So how many Linux kernel developers does IBM employ, right? That's absolutely a big contribution to open source. Another one is, my own employer. So we give Sentry SaaS credits to open source projects. So kind of gift in kind donations. Those are absolutely important and vital. What we're focused on with the pledge is specifically the cash to maintainers. It's, we could bring up the XKCD comic that we're all familiar with the, the Nebraska project down there at the base. The point is that's the missing piece. That's the biggest pain point, the ecosystem. That's the thing we're going after first with the pledge. Maybe in the future, there's a conversation about bringing visibility to how many people companies employ working on open source and other aspects. But for the launch of the pledge, we're very much focused on cash payments to foundations, projects, maintainers. So who would be, I guess, two questions from our side, unless folks have other questions or comments?
Oh, go ahead.
So I guess one thing we wanted to understand is what's the decision process from here? So the ask is, can we get a blog post on OpenJS/blog, .org/blog Tuesday, October 8th? What would be the decision-making process from here? Does this need board approval? Is this group, do you have the authority here to say, yes, we can commit to this? Do we need other people involved? I've had one conversation with Robin about this already, so she's aware of all this. She's the one that invited us to get involved with the sustainability group. We were on that call yesterday. What's the kind of decision process from here before we can commit? And then tactically, who would help with execution on actually putting that blog post together and coordinating on the timing? Those fair questions?
But Ben, do you want to address those or?
Yeah, I think, assuming the CPC is supportive, it's really Robin's decision.
Okay.
It would be, it's the foundation saying something publicly about a topic, which is her decision to make. Assuming she says yes, and she probably will, given the interaction that you've had with her already. We have a marketing person, Jen Shelby, who would be the person drafting and posting the blog post.
Okay. And I know Robin, is she still out of pocket?
I think she's back tomorrow.
Okay.
Let me just, yes. So I believe she's back tomorrow. I have a one-on-one with her tomorrow.
Okay. So it is a little bit of a tight turnaround. We're trying to get this shipped next Tuesday. Is it worth starting a thread with, I think you said it's Jen and Robin, and then maybe we can kind of warm it up with Jen to get the blog post going, and then just double check with Robin when she's back in the saddle. Is that worth kicking off that thread?
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Okay. Okay. I have Robin's email. I'm not sure I have Jen's. Am I getting her name right, Benjamin?
Yeah, give me 1 second.
Is Robin traveling or she's on PTO?
Both. So traveling as part of her PTO.
Fair enough.
So she'll be back. Yeah, as far as I know, and as far as I know, she's back tomorrow.
Cool. Okay. Can you share an email for Jen? Or I drop my
Yeah,
email.
I'll send it to the address you just sent.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Okay. Well, thank you all so much. I mean, like I said to Robin, our goal is to add a zero to your budget if we can help it over the next, couple years. So yeah, Joe, when you're ready with IBM, just let us know and we'll help get you onboarded and
Yeah, we can talk. Yeah. Very
Okay.
good.
Anything else
cool.
you all need from us before we let you continue with your meeting?
No, feel free to hang out if you want or drop or whatever's cool with us. But thank you for the presentation. Thank you for the work, and we'll definitely be following along.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and drop off. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks so much for your support, guys.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye.
Take care.
All right. Let's see. So moving on. The next item on the agenda here is 1367, create process docs to request infrastructure resources through OpenJSF partners. Christian Broman opened this up last week. Toby, you commented. Expand.
Yeah, I mean, basically, we already have a process for getting approval from the CPC for GitHub related stuff. And I think we should just leverage this and just generalize the document and the process to every vendor thing that we might have. And so we just need a pull request.
Okay, great. Any other questions or comments on that one?
My only thought on this one, so as I was reading this, I was like, how does the work that we've been doing with the Sovereign Tech Fund intersect here? So what I mean by that is if our internal resources would be helping set this up for a project, what does that look like? So it's something to think through. I do have a meeting this afternoon with our IT team, so I'm gonna also broach this with them.
Okay, that sounds good. Yeah, let us know what you all come away with.
Yep.
If you want to, drop a comment in the issue as well.
I'll add a note of our discussion there. Yeah.
Great, excellent, thank you. Cool. Moving along. Issue 1363. Toby, I'm going to put you on the spot for this one. Review Webpack's new governance model issue. I know you and Claudio and I'm forgetting the other person's name, have discussed this a bit.
Yeah, so we had a very long conversation about this. I think there was some misunderstandings as to what the role of the CPC was in improving governance, and then the governance work that was done was based off of Node's, which I don't have an issue with Node's governance model at all, right? But the existing governance of Node predates how the CPC and the foundation exists, and has been kind of adapted to deal with this new reality. But we have a number of templates and sort of ways of working that new projects have directly pulled from since then, and I believe it would be good that Webpack's new governance model built off of that rather than off of Node's pre-existing structure. And I think we have some agreement there as to how to move forward, which is that Claudio and the team, the Webpack team, will come back hopefully with a pull request for their updated charter that's based off of the new templates, to present that to the CPC, and that the CPC will review it and make a decision after reviewing it. And I think there's also an ask in that issue in general to make comments about the new governance process that is proposed for Webpack. My suggestion here, based off a talk actually I prepared recently and gave in Vienna about writing governance, was to simplify as much as possible and really focus on documenting existing practices rather than be aspirational in with a governance model. And so, I'll again restate that here. I think smaller, lighter, tighter governances as a start are better than long and more thorough structures, because those tends to drift from what the reality is, and you kind of like end up with like these two worlds, the paper one and like the actual practices. So those are my or my comments. If other people want to look at the overall governance and share their comments, that would be great. But from a more sort of like CPC role perspective, I'm hoping the project will come back with a charter that's structured as per our documents ask projects to do, and that will be able to formalize the review of that charter at that point.
Great.
I hope that's a hopeful summary.
Yep.
Helpful, not hopeful.
Yep. That's a very helpful summary. And I think I'm sure it's helpful for the team too, to be able to kind of approach it in a smarter way, the right kind of separation of documents and stuff. And great. All right. So thank you, Toby, for summarizing, but also for your work there and helping the team. Great. Any questions or comments? We're kind of waiting for them to come back with a reworking of what they got. So if not, I will move on. Issue 1359 is the OpenJS CLA should be updated. This, I think we are waiting for legal info. So I'm guessing we're still waiting on this since we didn't have any updates earlier. I'm guessing the same goes for the next one here, the clarified DCO and CLA requirements. Oh no, this isn't waiting on that. Okay, good.
So on 1359, why don't we just remove the cross-project cancel agenda on those so that they don't show up in two different places? Would that make sense?
Yep. Yeah. Sorry, I gotta get back to it. Where is it?
So doing that.
You got it? Great, thank you. All right, DCO and CLA requirements. This is the pull request opened by Ben on August 14th. Toby, you got some comments in here, some conversation. You want to give an update, Toby, since you got the context?
Hold on, I'm not sure they do.
Oh, sorry. No, this
wait.
is way back in August 15th. So I don't know what we're waiting on here. Matteo raises concerns about
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I now have the context. Yes. Ben shared new proposal for clarifying the DCO and CLA requirements. And that proposal included some requirements to use the DCO bot, which there was disagreement about. And so I think that this now needs a review to be able to move forward. The pull request needs to be reviewed to be able to move forward.
Yeah, and I see Jordan's not on board for a bot. Michael, you commented that the Node.js project a number of years ago rejected the use of a bot. So I don't know what the how to move this issue forward or not.
I think that, just to be clear, clarifying how to get DCO properly would be fantastic because we don't have anything that clarifies this. So I'm all for that. what I believe should be the consensus of the CBC, given the comments that people have made, is to offer different options and not make a bot mandatory, for example. And so I think that the guidance should be reviewed to reflect this. I pretty much think that's about what it is.
Didn't I guess he's dropped off, but like I thought Ben was going to start looking into that a little bit, like get caught up on the history, and not disagreeing with anything you said, but I seem to remember from an earlier meeting Ben was like, yeah, I'm going to get on top of this because
I mean, my understanding, given that Ben filed the initial one and got feedback, and knowing how Ben works in general and how he worked really well as the CPC was Ben, my expectation is that Ben will come back with an updated policy that he'll run through the CBC again. So that's my expectation.
Okay. Yeah, well, at the very least, we can talk about it again in 2 weeks and see where we're at then. All right, sounds good. Cool. Next item on the agenda is 1347. This is the Discord official Discord server for the Node.js community. We discussed this in last week's working session. And if I'm not mistaken, where we landed is that Claudio and Carl are gonna get their ducks in a row and come back to the TSC with more clarity on what the ask is and what the I don't know if repercussions is the right word, but what the outcomes are would be as well. Toby, you got your hand up?
Yeah, I wanted to add that there was also, I think, some confusion as to who was the authority for what here. And I think it's important to outline again that this is a Node TSC the decision. What they do with this project, right? And I think that there was some clarity there. The only thing that the CPC really cares about here is two things. That if this becomes a foundation-related project, that it uses the foundation's code of conduct. I think that was important. And that there was sort of like no middle ground in terms of being kind of related but not really related. It's at the end of the day, it's either the foundation is liable and shares its trademarks with that particular Discord server and is registered as such on the server. I think Michaela was the one who brought that issue up specifically when we talked about this like a few weeks ago. Or it's not, right? But if it is, then it is a foundation thing, and if it's not, then it's not. But there's no middle ground. So and then like the specifics of how this is organized, how Node wants to deal with this, like that is a Node TSC problem, not a CPC problem. I think clarifying that distinction is important.
yeah, I think like I'd agree with there's no middle ground if it's as was discussed in the last time where it's like branded as a Node.js thing. There are some relationships I could see that might be fuzzier, but like the last one that was described sounded like no, in that case it's got to be if it's got the Node.js logos and branding, then it is a Node.js thing, right? And so we'll see how that works out, but like I agree with that context.
Okay, great. Well, keep us posted. I mean, and I will as well. I try to attend the TSC meetings too. And we'll see how this plays out. And again, I think to Toby's comment, it's not necessarily that we need to approve anything, but I think keeping us up to, informed is good, especially when it comes to IP branding code of conduct, those kinds of things. Cool. All right, moving on. Next is the match repository structure, README process, and policy section. I'm looking here. Yeah, okay. This is an effort that's been ongoing a little bit. Chris and Toby kind of started parallel things to better structure the README and all that it tries to contain, so that it's easier for folks coming to the repository to know where to look and what to expect. This has kind of been ongoing. I don't know if there's been any updates from the working session we did a few weeks ago. No?
Nope.
No, Chris?
No, I haven't had time to dig into that further, but yeah, we had a good discussion, and I think we are all cool with the direction we were going in. Just gotta find some time to maybe do another working session on that. Next week is right out because TC39 plenary, but yeah, hopefully in the near future we can make some progress on that.
Yep, sounds good. Not a critical initiative, but I think it will be a great improvement. The work that's already been done is a good improvement over what we have, so thank you. Cool. Next one on here is archiving the hospital run project. I think, is there just like one thing outstanding that we're waiting on this? Oh,
I think there is.
Figuring out access to Open Collective and NPM packages. So again, is that on Ben, or is that Ben's assigned to it?
It is on Ben, but it doesn't really feel like it's a staff update and sort of like a.
Yeah, I was just going to add the staff update thing.
Well, go ahead, do that. Do it. Remove the CBC one, add the staff update. That's fine. I mean, to some degree, it is, because it is like he's looking for access to things that are going to be for the foundation to manage. So I think it's not an incorrect. Yeah.
Yep. Great. All right. Last next item on the agenda is 1297 document code of conduct team selection process. This, I think, is just waiting on a pull request if anyone wants to volunteer. Oh, and it needs to be added to the election calendar as well. Good call. So this could be a good working session thing to at least, gather it up, and then somebody can get it over the finish line. I don't know if we're gonna have a working session next week. Anybody interested in doing this next week if we have one? No.
I mean, I'm like, I don't mind having a working session on this, but I also think that like there's nothing really that needs to be debated here. Like, it's just like work that needs to be done.
Yeah.
And I'm wary of working sessions that become discussions rather than. I mean, it's just not a bad thing. It's just like, let me phrase this in a more positive way. I'm not sure that a working session is the right structure to move this particular item forward.
Yeah.
I might be wrong, but.
Do you think somebody that was not involved in the process, or is maybe even a little removed from the process now because of time, could ascertain what is needed from this issue alone?
I have no idea because I haven't looked at the issue.
Okay. Well, maybe we have a working session and we kind of just look at some of these sorts of things. Yes, maybe this doesn't require a whole working session, but if we could be like,
fair enough. I like that. I think that's better. And I think this is something where we want to involve Ben also. Because I think the more we leverage existing processes and the more we leverage foundation staff into those, easier they are to run. And I didn't have time to point this out at the beginning of the call, but the elections are running so smoothly now that when Ben said, "Hey, we have to elect voting members for the CPC," I was just like, "Oh my God, it's been so long we haven't done an election. This is crazy, and this is great, right? Because like I've like it's something that we wasted a lot of time on, and this is no longer the case.
Yeah.
And so more of that.
That's the Toby election barometer. If he's not if he doesn't get really mad about the fact that we're talking about an election, then we're doing all right. Great. Okay, cool. So I'll maybe message Ben and see if he can be there for a working session next week. We can just kind of quickly go over what the high level things are that's needed, how it aligns with any existing process, and then somebody can try to take it over the finish line. And along the lines of a working session, you know, we could I don't know if the restructuring the README is something we want to look at further, and do something similar, like this is what, at least outline what is needed next, so somebody can take it over the finish line too.
Well, maybe not next week if Chris is not there.
Oh yeah, that's right. All right, well,
but we could look. There's like the code of conduct plan of action. We could look at that.
yeah, that's been on my agenda to kind of just review and make sure we've got all the boxes checked. So that's another good
It's
thing.
pretty much mostly done. There isn't much that needs to be added to this.
Yeah. Okay, good. So we'll try to do some of these smaller items that would be good to get off the list here for next week. Great. Cool. I will continue moving on. The code of conduct action plan is the next item, but we don't really need to discuss that. We'll try to take a look at it next week. And then the final item is the IP policy license exemption for loopback, which is also on my to-do list. So we don't really need to dig into that. That's an old one that's been around for a while. So we just talked about the working session and dates and reminders. We know the elections are coming up, so I think we're kind of good. 11 minutes early on our meeting here. Does anybody else have anything they want to talk about or dig into? If not, I will mark this as another successful approved meeting, and we'll put it in the books. Cool. All right, thanks y'all. Appreciate you, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks. Have a good one.
Adios.